All right, let's finish up with this. Niners Nation has the 9 players to watch in this preseason game this weekend against the Broncos. Here are their 9 guys. Jordan Mason, number 1. Ronnie Bell and Chris Conley, I guess 2 and 3. Troy Fumagalli, 4. Il Manning, 5. Isaiah Oliver, 6. Ambry Thomas, 7. Jake Moody, 8. Deshaun Jameson, 9. Those are the guys that they're really looking for this weekend. I'll throw it to you, and I titled the stream preview of 49ers Broncos preseason game number 2, but, we've kind of buried the lead a little bit. But what do you think, Jack? I mean, who are you looking forward to seeing this weekend?
I'm looking forward to Jordan Mason, and that's one of the ones that they put on there. But I also want to see Ty Davis Price. That's a competition right there between those two, and I want to watch. I think if you're watching this game, you need to pay really close attention to both of these guys. You look at Jordan Mason; he's a good running back. You watch just watching them on the practice field. There's a big difference in the way that these two guys run. Ty Davis Price is a one cut and go up the field kind of guy, whereas Jordan Mason, he has that ability, but he also is really good about setting up his blockers and then making that cut and doing those kind of things. He's underrated in those kind of ways. And the biggest thing that you need to watch when you watch Jordan Mason and Ty Davis Price when they're on the field is watch them in pass protection. I felt like Ty Davis Price was awful against the Raiders. I mean, it was really, really bad. The only time that Ty Davis Price squared up a blitzer or a guy in pass protection on Sunday against the Raiders was when he dove into the guy's feet and the linebacker didn't move fast enough, and so he hit him in the crotch. Other than that, everything was a throwing a shoulder, I'm diving at your feet, missing you most of the time. And I think there's a lot of negativity around the offensive line pass protection. A lot of that, I think, had to do with Ty Davis Price. That would have been a question I would have asked Chris Firster yesterday if I'd made it on time. So I think that's number 1. Jordan Mason, Ty Davis Price. I think that's a big one. Troy Fumagalli, he's a nice player. I think that you should be paying attention more to Cameron Latu because this is the guy the 49ers expect. Troy Fumagalli is a guy that's here to fill up the roster during training camp. Cameron Latu is a guy that they drafted expecting to be a piece of the puzzle, and Cameron Latu can't catch his breath right now, and that's a big problem. There's a lot to like about the kid, but unless he catches the ball, it's going to be a big struggle. Do you want me to keep going through all these things, or do you want me to stop at some point?
Well, you stop whenever you want. I'm looking for Cameron Latu and Braden Willis at tight end for sure. I think Latu needs a big preseason game or two to make this roster. I'm also looking for Robert Beal Jr. and Taco Charlton. I think the Niners badly need some defensive end help, and those two guys are probably the best candidates to help out. And then I'm going to be looking at a guy that's really impressed me in practice, and that's Taylor Hawkins. Can Taylor Hawkins carry the unbelievable production in practice into the game? And then I'm going to be looking at Isaiah Oliver and Quantrez Knight as two guys that I think Isaiah Oliver is going to be battling Quantrez Knight for a roster spot. And then I'll also be looking at the kickers, Jake Moody and Zane Gonzalez. Moody needs to make kicks. It's simple as that. There's no ambiguity to it. You just got to make kicks. Yep. So I think those are the guys that I'll be looking for. The guy that I'm most excited to see in the game is Robert Beal Jr. Beal had a rep, and granted, it was a rep. It was only one rep against Trent Williams, but he beat him to the edge and sacked Purdy in practice. And it was the kind of explosive pass rushing move that they drafted him exactly for that reason. And to me, I'm not that impressed with the backup DNs. Alex Barrett, Austin Bryant, Breeland Speaks, Taco Charlton, Robert Beal. There's going to be guys around the league that are available either free agent wise or at the cut down or via trades that are better than these guys if these guys don't ball out and start to really show up. So if there's one guy on defense, it's Robert Beal Jr. If there's one guy on offense, it's probably Cameron Latu. But what do you think, Jack? Is it if I said to you Cameron Latu, Isaiah Oliver, two guys that Latu was their third-round draft choice. Oliver was one of their major free agent signings in the offseason. If I said to you, you're going to bet everything that those guys are on or off the roster, what are you going with?
Yeah, that's two of the things that I had on my list was Latu and Oliver. I talked about Latu already. I think if Latu doesn't start catching the ball, doesn't show that he can make the catches, I don't see how you keep him on the roster. I mean, they drafted him to replace Charlie Warner, right? The guy that can block, but Charlie Warner can't catch. They replaced him with another guy that can block who can't catch. Braden Willis can catch, but he can't block the same way. He's not quite that blocker yet. He's working on it. He's working through it. In the slot corner spot, that's where you get Deshaun Jameson. If you're looking for a way that he's going to make this roster, it's going to be Isaiah Oliver not cutting it. He continues to step up, and they get him in thinking that he can be a return guy early on and help them out in the slot. So definitely watching Oliver. It's popped right in my, it's just stood right out to me on the practice field on Tuesday when the first team defense went out and they got into the nickel, and it wasn't Isaiah Oliver on the field. Instead, they put Ambry Thomas on the outside and they slid number 2 inside. And, I wanted to talk about it afterwards. And I'm really glad that I wasn't going to say anything because you're not supposed to until Steve Wilkes went ahead and let everybody know at his press conference, So I think that's a big deal because they expected Isaiah Oliver to be their guy, and he hasn't taken that job yet. So when you're watching tomorrow night, pay attention to number 26 and see if there's somebody else inside. It's probably not going to be Lenore. It's probably going to be 22 or 47, AJ Parker. Those are the guys that have been lining up in the slot.
Yeah, it's pretty wide open competition for that slot for sure. And Matt Flores, realtor, says that interview Larry played yesterday about Kyle was so damning. Why aren't more people discussing this? I'm not even sure which one you're talking about, actually. Do you remember the interview that Kyle did? I did hear him expand on his Brock Purdy's the real deal comments. And basically what he said was, hey, Brock has played in the NFL and he's played well and he's played 7 games and we have the film and he impressed me and he impressed the players. And it's not, I think there were so many people suggesting that Brock's success was not real and that it was not sustainable and that it was lucky. And that just because Jimmy started fast and Jimmy crapped out and got worse and worse and worse, that, by definition, that means that none of us can believe that Brock's success last year was sustainable or real in any way. And Shanahan just pushed back and said, you know what? And I heard him on the radio expanding on he did an interview, I think, on Sirius XM. And I didn't play this yesterday, so I'm not sure if this is even what Matt Flores, realtor, is talking about. But I did hear him today on the radio expand on his real deal comment. And he was basically like saying to all those people out there who think that Brock Purdy's some flash in the pan, lucky, that, somehow it wasn't real and what you were watching was not authentic and is not sustainable, think again. And I think that's the right thing to say. I mean, a lot of people took it as, oh, my God, Kyle's putting him into a Hall of Fame class and now there's tons of pressure. I don't think so. I think he was pushing back on all the people who were saying this kid is, a flash in the pan or this kid's the NFL version of Jeremy Lin and he's going to come crashing back to earth in year 2. And the Niners are going to be sitting there going, oh, my God, look at this guy's not even anything close to what he was last year. And that's Kyle just saying, not going to happen. This guy's real.
Yeah, I don't. Is Brock Purdy the real deal? Yeah, he's the real deal. That's why they expect him to be the starter. In their eyes, he is the real deal. You didn't even forget anything that Kyle Shanahan has said about Brock Purdy. If you want to know that Brock Purdy is the real deal, read what Brock Purdy said in the interview to Albert Breer, walking into the locker room before the first preseason game last year, having Fred Warner and Trent Williams walking in front of him. And they're talking about how they're looking forward to watching Brock Purdy play in the game the next day because of what they've seen on the field. That says way more than anything that Kyle Shanahan's going to say in terms of the reason why this team believes in him, the reason why Brock Purdy's the guy, the reason why you've heard all this stuff is because the team believes in him. And they were seeing it long before anybody else. And when it comes to Brock Purdy, it's just people, hey, he was a 7th round draft pick and he's a shorter guy and he doesn't throw the ball a mile. And so he must suck. And that's really what he's battling against. And it's not going to change until he shuts everybody up.
The play, as Texas here says, Texas Niners says the players see it. I'll say this. I've been covering the team for years. and doing the pregame show on the radio for over a decade. Now I'm on YouTube, and my vantage point's different, right? My vantage point is now, by the way, somebody says Jack has a yipper dog going in the background there.
I do. I
Uh,
do.
that train went by once already, too. But we'll finish with this. The last 2 years, this year and last year, I've had an opportunity to cover the 49ers on a day-to-day basis and be in the locker room and actually face up the players and get a chance to talk to Shanahan, talk to Lynch, talk to the players, and have a much better feeling for the vibe of the team. And if you said to me, what is the moment that stands out more than any other? It was clearly the Tuesday after the Miami game, where I walked into that locker room not sure what the vibe was going to be like. You had lost Jimmy Garoppolo for the year. Everybody knew it. It was a Super Bowl team that had lost their starting quarterback and was now going to have to go the rest of the way with Mr. Irrelevant, the last pick in the draft. And yet the feeling in the room that day was one of optimism, belief, energy. People were bouncing around. People were feeling good. You could tell right there. I didn't have to go ask the players, do you guys believe in Brock Purdy? It was like you knew they believed in Brock Purdy by the way these guys are football players. They're not actors. If they didn't believe, they would have been like talking about the season almost in past tense. They would have been bemoaning the injury. Oh, this is real. We're really going to have to dig deep. That kind of thing. Oh, it's a kick to the gut. People were like, hey, we're feeling good. Like they hadn't lost anybody at all because they knew what we eventually would find out, which is that Brock Purdy was more than a suitable replacement and that their season was not done and that their playoff hopes were not dashed. And that to me was the most interesting moment. And it was it revealed to me their true belief in Brock Purdy. And then the rest of it is just like, you can get a quote here, get a quote there, and guys would tell you over the course of the season, yeah, we really believe in him. Here's why. And Ray told me, man, I was out of the huddle one time, and he started MFing me and yelling at me and getting in my face, and I knew then, man, this guy was a real leader. So I don't know. To me, that's the interesting one right there is that just the players have a belief in Brock Purdy, and the fans, unfortunately, I think need to see it again and maybe see it again and again and again. But the players don't. The players know what they have in Brock Purdy.